Alright, welcome to the weapons loading training video. My name is Edmund McDonald. You may or may not know me quite well by this point. I am making all these training videos for Tex, the main engineer, and this one is weapons loading. Have you ever tried to fire a gun and there was no weapon bullet in it? Or the phase charger wasn't fully recharged? It doesn't do much, does it? Well, that's why we have this station here, so we can load things into our weapon so that when we actually click the fire button, things happen. Alright, now listen up because this is very important. Click on that center sphere. Take your mouse, this big one that I'm waving in front of you, and click on that center sphere. You are then given a few options. Click Access Terminal, wherein you type in your first and last name. There's mine. Not sure if I told you it but up till then, but I am Edwin McDonald, promise. Click OK, and then now you've got access to this station. First things first, take that mouse again and drag it to the top right corner of the screen until you see this box where it says phaser charging, torpedo loading, and shields control. Oh, that's an added bonus. You thought you just had weapons, didn't you? But you've actually got shields too. Now click first on phaser charging. What is a phaser, for heaven's sake? Well, what it is a very focused and very concentrated stream of plasma. This plasma is so hot and so energetic that when it hits something else, it just destroys all the molecular bonds that's holding it together, and it burns it up and fries it. It's a weapon, in other words. You might also think laser beam, something like that. But I think it's a bit more powerful than a laser beam. That's why we use them. Anyway, we have 12 phaser banks. That's what you call a phaser weapon on a ship. It's a phaser bank. You fire it from your phaser bank. Anyway, we've got 12 of them, so you can fire 12 different phasers. That's quite exciting, isn't it? Well, you don't actually do any of the firing. That's at the station somewhere else, the actual tactical station. But this is where you load the weapons. To load them, you simply decide which bank you want to load, and then you click Charge Phaser Bank. Now, if you know you're really going in for a teeth kicking, a real fight in the mud, you may want to charge all your phaser banks. I don't suggest you actually click that button though, because it's going to take a while to charge all of them. Click that button only when you know you've got a lot of time before you have to start firing anything. Now, if you decide that you've become a pacifist or something and you really don't want to fight anymore, you can now click Discharge Phaser Banks, and that'll take it right down. You can also discharge all if you've charged all, or if you have multiple phaser banks charged up, like I've got here. Now I can click Discharge all, and they all discharge. Do you see that? That's right. So if you haven't done it already, click Bank 1 and click Charge Phaser Bank. And now that's it. That's this screen. You are a master of phasers loading already. Now let's go to torpedoes. Torpedo is exactly what you think it is. It's a big old bullet that has a massive antimatter warhead on it. It blows up huge when it hits something. These are the big guns. Phasers are the typical weapons that you would use, and they're the ones that we have unlimited use of. Torpedoes are limited. They do more power, but you are limited. You can see how many we've got in these 8 different launchers, though. We've got 8 different torpedo launchers. Like I said, this ship is pretty stuck to the teeth, if you will. Each different launcher has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 30 different torpedoes. Times that by 8, well, you've got quite a bit. 240 torpedoes. If you've used all 240 torpedoes, you're really going to have to do some answering to Starfleet. You really have been doing some warmongering, I bet. Anyway, but it's very easy to load torpedoes. You simply decide which launcher you want, and which launcher is dependent on where the target is. It might be in a different quadrant, and the tactical station will tell you. But you click load, and you see that a torpedo loads into the mechanism. You can load up to 5 at a time. Go ahead and click load until you've got 5 at a time loaded into the torpedo launcher 1. Once you've done that, now you're a master of this station. And we can move on to shield control. Now, we're not the only ones with phasers and torpedoes out in space. There are other ships, sadly, that also have torpedoes and phasers, and they might be sending them toward you. In that case, we don't want them to hit our actual ship, so we have shields. What are shields? Well, the technical definition is that we've got all these electrons that we shoot out the front of our ship and they swirl around and we collect them in the back. And these electrons are so concentrated that they create this field that doesn't let things through, like weapons or ships and things like that. But you can just think of them as a force field that is surrounding our ship. And we've got 6 different shield generators. We've got a forward, that means the front of the ship. I'm looking at the top of the ship here, and I'm looking at the side of the ship here. I've got forward shields. I've got aft shields, that's the back. I've got port, that's the left side. I've got starboard, that's the right side. And I've got ventral, that's the bottom. And I've got dorsal, that's the top. Think dorsal fin on a fish or a dolphin. That's going to be the top, where they've got the dorsal fin. Now I can raise one of them and lower one of them. Or I can raise all of them and lower just one of them if I want. Now you may think, why would I ever want to do that? Aren't I now defenseless at the bottom? Well, you're sure right, you're defenseless down there. But maybe the danger isn't there. So who cares if you're not defenseless? If you're defenseless or not. If the real danger is above you and you just don't have enough strength on those shields on top, you can take this one down and pump all of that energy into the top shield. And you'll be right as rain if you got all that up there. And maybe you know that everything is all at the front of the ship. Maybe that you only want to have the forward shields there. You can get more power to the shields. That will also strengthen them. If you really need more power to the shields to get... if you need your shields really strong, then you want not only to concentrate where you've raised the shields, but you also want to have as much power in them as you can. You can get more power at the left wing power distribution station. Now, as shields get hit, they weaken. Sadly, that's just the state of things. How strong are they? Well, that's what this integrity number is, just to the left of all the raise and lower buttons are that you see. 100% means that they are right as rain, as good as they're going to get. And that'll drop to 0. At 0, well, the shields fail, and actually they'll be broken. You won't be able to re-raise them until you fix them. Now, you might wonder, what's the shield frequency? Well, what is a frequency? It means something that you do at a fixed time. That means like I do something every 5 seconds or 1 second or 2 seconds. That's a frequency at which you do things. This MHz stands for megahertz, and that means that we shoot out these electrons, 223.32 million times every second. You can change this number. Why would you want to change it? Well, weapons have frequencies as well, like phasers. And if they have this exact same frequency that we do, they might be able to just offset it a wee bit, and they'll punch right through in all the windows that we have between. And believe it or not, there are still windows, even if they're shooting them out at 222.42 million times a second. But they can penetrate our shields as if they weren't there. And if that happens, then you want to change it. You really don't have to change it unless something like that happens. And that is the shield station. If you have more, and that is basically this entire screen. One last thing I need to tell you. Other ships can see when you've raised your shields and when you've loaded weapons like phasers or torpedoes. When you've raised the shields and loaded weapons, that is a red flag to everybody saying that you are expecting some action, or that you are expecting danger from them, or you're expecting to bring the danger. You understand what it would look like? Just imagine that a cowboy is running around and he's got his weapons loaded and drawn everywhere where he gets. And he's wearing body armor. What the heck? He's also wearing body armor. What are you going to think about someone that walks around like that? You're going to be very wary of them, aren't you? Well, that's exactly what other ships are going to think if you've got your shields raised and your weapons loaded all the time. So you be very careful when you do that. Make sure that you know that when you loaded your weapons that you intend to use them, or you're in a situation where you are fully prepared to do so and accept all the consequences. All right, that is the weapons loading station, and you are done. Stop the tape and raise your hand.